It's spring. Days are getting longer. Wild birds are getting louder. Grass is just getting to that point where it's just starting to explode. It's that point where we're taking animals from their deep bedding, their winter housing, out onto the land for the first time, their happy place. There's no day like it, because when you bring those animals out for the first time and they've been on hay, we set up these temporary lanes to get them out there, but you can't even barely walk them through there because they're just picking every little thing. Like springtime for a ruminant animal is like an ice cream buffet. For us as a family, it's kind of like we've just like the animals, we've been in this like dormant, the days are short, we're getting a lot of rest, we're not doing much, we're gaining a little bit of weight. The days get longer and the days get warmer, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, let's do this. I would know when it was spring by the location of my children. Like, it's spring when I can't ever find my children. Any moment, they're gone. They're never in the house. It's like it's representative of this whole new life. You get these buds on the trees. You're getting fresh green grass. But you're also getting new animals. This farm has never seen sheep. I'm the first generation to bring that in. Just recently, we started lambing. That means the mama sheep are giving birth.
On Saturdays, we don't do anything. We call it our 0 day. So we just do the basics of the farm, and then we just rest. Justin and I and Henry had gone on a walk, and then Justin was going to go on a longer walk with some of the kids. But before that, he went down to check on the lambs because he had thought that Floppy was in labor.
I go down there. This is the only one born in the day, and I see the sheep, and it's got the head out. And I know enough from cows that the hoofs are supposed to be coming out. I'm at this point thinking this is a little suspicious. It's been kind of going on. And I know this lamb is gonna be suffering and maybe suffocating soon. It's got all this birth on it. I'm wiping its nose, and I can see this lamb is breathing.
I went down there. It felt like really intense, like I think just having had a baby, like I felt like Floppy's energy, I guess. I don't know, it just felt very intense for me.
It's this whole thing where you can learn from the books and you can get inside of this mind, this great mind, and you have that, and then you have some experience, and that's all good. And see what's happening here? Like I had some experience with the calf and the hood behind, but I didn't know some things with a lamb. There's these very specific instances and happenings that the book just didn't address.
You can watch all the YouTube videos you want, but it's so much easier when you have someone on the phone, talking to you, saying, this is what you need to do.
How do I do this?
One of the things that a lot of people talk about in the homesteading community is that it just feels lonely. Because you do so much with your animals and growing food or whatever, you can't do certain things that you used to be able to do. There's not a lot of time to hang out with people,
one of the ways to be successful on homesteading is to stay at home. A pig gets out, the chicken's got to get put up at night, the calf's got to get put up in the afternoon, you got to milk in the morning. Stay at home. But what about the social life? Well, you got to get more creative.
I think because being a homesteader, you're so home-based, there's like this allure of like, I'm going to go places and do things. This is Justin's family's land, and so we were like, are we here just by default because this is where we ended up, because this is, part of Justin's family? Or is this because we really love it here? We didn't know if this is where we wanted to like live for forever.
As we kept just being unsatisfied, push it forward with the homestead, but just not the whole heart into it. We had always had this idea like, I kind of wish we wouldn't have went to college. I kind of wish we would have just went and did internships at farms and small businesses and really practical types of things that we really want to do with our life. But once you had kids and once you get rolling with a homestead, that's hard to give up.
Justin had always said, I wish that I could just go to some of these places and see what they're doing. He'd always say, if I could just like go to Joel Salatin's place, if I could just go to Greg Judy's and see how they do it. And then Paul Gauci, we had done Back to Eden Gardens, and we watched the movie, and we still were not getting good results.
What if we chucked it all and just traveled America and learned from people? And when we set out to do that, we're converting a school bus so that we can take our entire family. This isn't just me and Rebecca going doing an internship. This is toddlers, okay?
And so we did. We hit all 50 states in 10 months.
We had 3 goals for the Great American Farm Tour. And out of those 3, 2 are pretty public. One was to showcase America's greatest farms, homesteads, backyards. The second goal was to find our place in America. The third was to learn from the Great American Farm Tour. Going from one spot to the other, we saw America in a different light than what we saw in media or from our own locked-in perspective.
We knew it was going to be hard. We knew it was going to be exhausting. And it was fun. Like, we did have a ton of fun, but I don't think we could have ever imagined it was as hard as it was.
Lily, when you're 2, you're like that big.
You were
like
2.
that big. You mean you were that big?
He was 2, Lily was 5, Josiah was 6, and I was 8.
3.
Okay.
So there's the aisle. My bunk beds were on the bottom, Josiah over me, Gideon, and Jonah.
We had curtains, so we could just get in our bed and pull
Pull
the
down the
curtains.
curtains.
We had like our own light, and we had our own storage under our bed. We had
No.
like 2 places.
We
And we would store all of our stuff in there.
Boy said he'd thrown a toy thing to see if Gideon could swim. And he said, Gideon, there's a toy in the pool. You have to go get it. And Gideon jumped in the water, and then it was like floating. And then Josiah was like, Papa, Gideon's drowning. And then Papa's like, Dare didn't want to play. They wanted to sleep, but I wanted to play a lot more.
Yeah.
Well, you had to take it after
Well,
your nap.
we were also
And I
sitting
was
in the
sad about that.
I don't know if you want that story, but I peed in the RV parking lot and got in a lot of trouble. Got Rebecca really embarrassed. Because she got yelled at, not me.
I actually had a toxin test when we got home, and I had fuel, like additives or exhaust in my system because she was so stinky. She had really bad exhaust. Our original goal was that I was going to drive some, and I probably only drove for 20 minutes the entire time. I got really bus sick.
Maple is broke down.
Like I had a really hard time in the bus when it was moving. I just would get really nauseous.
Maple, she's running good. End up being that filter. It was that filter.
That, and then we would get somewhere and then film, eat a dinner either with the people or we would make something in the bus, and then get the kids to bed, and then he would start editing a video, and sometimes it was like midnight, 1 o'clock. Most nights it was midnight, 1 o'clock. He'd be done with the edit, and then he would go to sleep and wake up 6 or 7 the next morning and do it over again.
I can remember laying down one night in the bus floor, that bamboo bus floor, just laying back, just looking up. Everybody's in bed. How am I gonna do this? It's 10 p.m. I still gotta edit. I still got a 3 to 4 hour edit, and we gotta leave at 7 a.m. in the morning. But then it's like, hey, Rebecca, we didn't promise all 50 states.
But Justin at one point was like, let's just go hit like the features and then let's get home. I don't know where we decided that we were gonna go to all 50 states. Justin says it was my idea, which I do remember it being my idea.
But in a moment of clarity, when I'm weak, I think we traded. I would have my weak moments and she was strong. She would say, I think we'll regret it if we don't.
If we don't do it now, we're never gonna do it.
Yet another fuel stop. We were so distracted with the nature of the trip and the difficulty and the tiredness of it. And we would go to these meetups and people would say, you look exhausted. And finally we were like, yeah, we're exhausted.
Mainly the reason we did meetups was so that, well, people wanted to meet us, but we were also hopeful that people would meet each other. It's not about us, it's about community, building community, and people finding community. We want people not to feel lonely because we know what that feels like.
They came through at Primal Pastures on one of their meetups for their farm tour. And we were like, this is in California. It's a couple hours away. We could totally do this. Let's go meet them. I think it was the biggest meetup they had. It was like 500 people. So it gets to the end of the day. And we walked up and we had a camera in our hand. And we were so nervous, both Ben and I. We were just so nervous to meet people who at the time were like our heroes. Like they're vlogging. They have 4 kids, they're homesteading, they're doing what we want to do, and they just hit the road, so we know that it's possible to do it with kids. So we were pretty nervous when we came up, and I had the camera in my hand, and we walk up, and Justin goes, hey, YouTubers? We were like, yes. And that just broke the ice and kicked it off, and we told him why we were YouTubing and what we were doing. And Rebecca said, well, we need to keep in touch then, and when you guys come through North Carolina, hit us up.
Probably in about 2009, I started working a whole bunch. I was working 80 to 100 hours a week, and it went from like I know my kids and I'm around my wife to I see everybody on maybe Sunday. At some point, she was like, hey, I found this guy on YouTube. You might like him. Like he's doing this stuff that we're interested in. And the first video I ever watched, him and Rebecca got tired of the kids leaving a mess in the bathroom, and so they snuck in the middle of the night while the kids were asleep and toilet papered their kid's bedroom. And I just it dawned on me, it's like, this is the stuff I'm missing out on. Like, I'm not gonna have this type of stuff if I continue doing what I'm doing. They were just getting started, and I came walking in one morning before work, and I told Meg, we had two moods, fighting or not fighting, and it was one of those rare times where we weren't fighting. And I said, hey, how would you feel about looking for land, doing what Justin and Rebecca are doing, leaving, finding land, not looking in California, but looking further. We've always talked about going around the country and just seeing what this country looks like. How about we do that and we don't come back? And without hesitation, she's like, yeah, that sounds good.
We actually were not doing well maritally, and it was kind of a last-ditch effort to save our marriage.
And so over the next couple days, we kind of talked about it. We hatched the plan. We took a year to plan, a year to get the house ready to sell, and then we left.
I got a voicemail. I wasn't around when Justin called and said, Randy, heard you want us to stay with you up there in Minnesota. And when I first met them, the bus was coming down the road. I got the whole family out in front of the house. We have a very long driveway, so we can see them coming for a while. And my daughter, who knows more about chickens than anyone I know, she's got her favorite chicken in her arm. We're kind of standing out, waiting for the bus to come, and it pulls up, and we can see in the windows Jonah and Josiah, just waiting to get out. This is our 15 seconds of fame, right? Justin Rhodes is here. And I was just visibly nervous. I thought that Justin was going to come flying out of the bus with the doors open, with the camera, like, whoa, hey, we're in Minnesota, we're at Randy's farm. And it was very different than what I expected. He opened the door. He was obviously exhausted. And he looked at me and he said, so you're Randy? I was like, yeah. And I started to introduce my family, and he immediately went to my daughter, Madeline, and he's like, is that your chicken? It's like, yeah. And he quickly just said hello, and then it was right back in the bus. And there was some rummaging on, some noises in there and everything as he was getting the kids, and Rebecca was helping getting the kids situated. There's raisins on the floor, there's toys on the floor. It's just like anyone else's home. It's just like my own home, right? It was not what I was seeing in the other vlogs, which was highly energetic, featuring these families and everything. And that was the beginning of me realizing that he was just a regular guy. He was there in Minnesota in July, and it was in, the low 90 degrees. And he said something about, I didn't think it got that hot here. And so, like all good Minnesotans, I have, a plethora of weather facts about the state, and then we love to talk about the weather. And I had just said, it gets 60 below zero here. And he still didn't look at me, but he stopped.
Minus 60? Don't bad things happen at minus 60? Yeah. Your car won't start, and your freight freezes off in 3 minutes.
He was in the middle of evaluating all 50 states in the U.S. And when I said it gets 92, but it also gets minus 60, and you have, whatever that is, 152 degree swing in your climate, I think that probably set off a little bit of a red flag of, do we really want to live here or not?
We met people like Randy in minus 60 Minnesota. Then all the way to Arizona, 3 inches of rain, and them too being happy. If they can be happy in minus 60 and 3 inches of rain, well, then I can be happy with what I've got. We've done more in the 3 years since the Great American Farm Tour than we ever did in our whole Homestead 15-year career. And it's because we explored that itch and we scratched it and we saw America and we saw how content people were despite their problems. No place was perfect. We're like, we're gonna embrace this place. We're gonna grow where we're planted, so to speak. We're gonna get rooted here. And because we got rid of all dissatisfaction, we could really set in here. It was such a struggle, the farm tour. And this was hard to talk about on YouTube because we were just getting it done, getting the job done, and just moving on.
Our expectation was to go to the farms and actually do something at these farms and help in some way. But we quickly realized that that wasn't going to work because we didn't ever have that much time, it seemed like.
It's not worth training you if you can help them for 4 hours. So it's more like, okay, just watch this. And we never really got that.
I think it was Saturday morning. You know, we're just doing regular Saturday morning thing. I think we were getting ready to go somewhere and text from Justin, and he said, we have the situation, we're at this U.
How do I do this? And I think, okay, Randy. And I knew he had sheep. I knew he had lambs. What do I do, Randy? This head's out.
I remember I turned to my wife, I said, they're not seeing the diving position. And she looked at me and she said, that lamb has to come out right now. And you need to take it out. You need to pull it out.
Try to reach in there and see if you can't get a hoof. Pull it out. So I said, all right, I had a plan. I went down there and I'm sitting by that sheep and I'm like, okay. And I'm pulling so hard, this lamb is just falling under the pressure. And then the sheep just lets off this terrible bleat. And I like lose my religion and it's like, oh no, you know, it's just too stressful. I think I'm gonna kill this sheep. So I'm just pulling and finally, and there's the baby lamb. That mama would have died. And that's when it hit me. In that moment, if it weren't for Randy, that sheep would have died. And if I hadn't have gone on the Great American Farm Tour, I wouldn't have had Randy. So sure, we set out to learn from these people in the Great American Farm Tour, but we got something even better. Our black books is rich with lifelong guides, but even more important, friends and community.
When we moved from California, like, we left everything. When we got here, it was kind of scary in a way because our thought was, well, we are on our own now. Like, we have no help, no friends, no family, no nothing. They definitely pulled us in. We got here and they kind of just like folded us in as a family, which was really cool.
I don't know, there's something beautiful about a marriage being saved and like a family being saved that I think we all wanted to be a part of.
So then we want to help them, and then Art and Bree want to help them, and then somebody's saying, well, let's get everybody else in this North Carolina vicinity. And all of a sudden we're having this work party. And all these YouTuber, homesteaders, and even non-YouTubers are coming together.
We really started hanging out with one another and really started cementing these relationships.
It's like a big family hug. Like, we didn't know you could have community like this.
This lifestyle has kind of allowed me to be home and be with my family. I've seen my relationship with my wife and my kids just blossom just in a couple short years. And I really didn't think there was any coming back from where we were.
You know, like Liliana's their redemption baby, you know, like this is like their redemption farm. Like they've like really redeemed their marriage through this. Connected with a lot of wives on the tour. And that's been amazing to have, just knowing that I have people that genuinely care about me. We shared our sorrows, our struggles, our joys with each other while visiting them.
That was such a defining moment of our lives. 50 states in 10 months, a YouTube video for every single day. That is an accomplishment that will live beyond our grave because it was so extreme.